You're gonna tell me 7 carries.
And welcome everyone to the Sports Roundtable. Jonathan Stankelson here with Jersey Joe. First time we're matching up together.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. We always fight during class or with Michael DeMerger, so we'll see how it goes out
We're both
here.
bright guys, though, so let's see if we can make this show work.
Let's see if we can make it work. You're listening here to the Iona College Radiothon on WICR, broadcasting live on 365.com and on Ustream. Just search WICR and you'll find us there. It's for free, so feel free to tune in. But Jersey Joe, the headline of today, you can't go wrong. It's baseball in the middle of football season. Baseball has taken the headlines, and it's due to the controversy of baseball commissioner Bud Selig.
It really is, and I've been following this story, A-Rod being a big Yankee fan myself, and I really think baseball should just be embarrassed with how this situation is going right now. The way Bud Selig has just handled this whole situation, I think it's flat out embarrassing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. For the first time ever, I'm actually on A-Rod's side. Literally,
me too.
For the first time ever in my baseball rooting, because I mean, A-Rod is just not a kind person.
No.
He's a good baseball player. You can't deny that. But he's just not a kind person. But for the first time, this is personal. As he's been quoting for this whole entire time, it's personal against A-Rod. They're using him as a scapegoat. And when Bud Selig won't even testify in an official MLB investigation, something's fishy here.
I mean, you represent the entire league. How are you going to tell me that you represent the whole league and you're not going to talk in this gigantic thing? I mean, the flat-out thing also that bothers me, how can the MLB justify giving paper bags of money to these fishy guys? And apparently we heard they have all this mountains of evidence against A-Rod. Why are we not hearing about it? I mean, there's just a lot of fishy things here, and I just think that the MLB did a terrible job handling this.
Yeah, I mean, it's still developing. The big news was that yesterday, A-Rod, in an impromptu interview, went on WFAN with Mike Francesa, and a 40-minute interview on the spot in studio. And you know what? He went off on Bud Selig. Basically, the big thing we took out of it is he refuses to go back into the arbitration process unless Bud Selig shows up. He left his lawyer there to handle all of his things. And then also, A-Rod denied any wrongdoing in the case. He said, I didn't do anything. I didn't take any PEDs since 2003. He denies any of the leaks. This is the first time he's ever come out and said, I didn't do anything, and they're just blatantly putting this all on me.
I mean, the thing that... Here's the thing. Do I think A-Rod did some stuff? Absolutely. But MLB has made it very hard to believe their side of the story now, too. I think both sides are probably wrong here, but it's a bad situation across the board right now. It really is.
I mean, the way you see it is A-Rod has not been a likable person. He's kind of like a born liar, if you will. He's never been upfront honest with anyone. And I think that's hurting him now in the one case where people should believe in him. But he's lied before, and he's a shady guy.
Absolutely.
He's a shady guy, and that's hurting him now. But the fact of the matter is, Bud Selig is out-shadying him, if you will, at this moment. He's hiding in the shadows, and the fact he's retiring next year, you think that's playing a factor into this right now?
I think it absolutely does. I think right now he just wants to walk away from the game while it is now, and I think overall, when you look back at his legacy, I mean, this is a bad way to leave, and I think overall the steroid era is what he's going to be most remembered for, so I don't have very good memories of Selig's term as commissioner. I really don't. What about you?
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think this past 5 years span, or maybe even 10-year span, frankly, with all the steroids, has been absolutely an abomination.
Absolutely.
Also, baseball's been way too slow uptake on the replay.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at other things. Listen, Bud Selig wants the perfect system, and no system is perfect. Look at the NFL. There's inconsistencies. Look at the NBA. There's inconsistencies. And this new system that baseball implementing now has a lot of inconsistencies, and all the delays they had to try and make it perfect, I still think they have the worst replay system going into next year.
Absolutely. The thing that really was a red flag for me is, I remember a couple months ago when it said Bud Selig doesn't even use his email.
Yeah.
He's never opened an email. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, when you have a league, you need to be progressive. That's why boxing isn't important anymore. That's why a lot of these old sports that a long time ago, that's why baseball is not as popular as it was. The game is not progressive enough. And when you have a commissioner like Selig, you need to progress the game with things like replay. And it's just ridiculous that it's taken this long to get to where we are now.
Yeah, I think the replay system for next year, correct me if I'm wrong, is I think you get a couple challenges per game, and I think you get a challenge in the last 3 innings no matter what.
Yeah, I think that was the gist of it.
It's something like that. The way I see it is that one of the big problems with that replay system I have is that coaches are going to throw challenge flags on plays that are close, put that in quotation marks, to warm up pitchers. Think about it. It's going to be another 2 minutes. The pitcher's going to have to warm up in the bullpen, get 20 throws in, and then he can come to the game after. How do you patrol that?
That's true. I mean, I think a big thing for a lot of people why they can't sit down and watch a whole baseball game is who has time to sit down and watch a 4-hour baseball game. And part of the thing I think is, though, if you're willing to sit down and watch that entire game, adding a little bit more time probably won't make the people who would sit and watch it take away from it. But I think the casual fan just doesn't have the time to sit there and watch that long of a game. But if it helps out, cut down on the big plays that make us all angry, I guess in the long run it'll all work out.
Now, like, the casual fan knows about steroids because it's been out for so long. It's something that every single person knows about, and if you don't, you've lived under a rock. Even my girlfriend knows about steroids. She doesn't follow any sports. That's how big this is. But now the thing is, A-Rod is the golden boy of the bad boy, if you will, in terms of the steroid situation. You have Ryan Braun, who's really up there close to him right now, who blatantly lied to everyone in Milwaukee.
Oh, I can't stand Ryan Braun.
Yeah, I mean, he has a 75-game suspension. He lied to everyone and basically mocked the MLB, and then the MLB was like, oh, wait, here's more proof. Now you're officially out. So, but I want to ask you this because we're going to disagree on this completely. There are people who've been linked to the steroid situation that have not been in so much trouble, if you will. There's people, Johnny Peralta this year, Nelson Cruz this year for the Rangers, Johnny Peralta for the Tigers. They sat out, but no one was super angry about them. But A-Rod is the lightning bolt for all controversy around the situation. Do you think that's just because he's just a bad person in general, and people like Nelson Cruz, Johnny Peralta, and I'm going to say David Ortiz, even though he's been linked, no one really cares about them because they're actually likable people?
I think that does have a part of it. I think a guy like Albert Pujols maybe there's been a lot of talk about him maybe being connected to it, but I think he's always been one of the poster guys for the MLB, and they've got to protect their guys like him. Ortiz is a likable guy, you know. I don't like him. I think he's definitely connected to steroids in
How
some
do
way.
you not like Ortiz personally? Can you, as a person, how do you not like David Ortiz?
I don't know about person because I mean I can't say because I don't know, but
His personality? You don't like his personality?
I just don't. I think he's hiding that smile out of his face, and he's been cheating us this whole time. I think he's absolutely been connected. Come on, you can't deny. You're a big Colin Cowherd fan like I am. You know how anti-David Ortiz Colin Cowherd has been. I think all the points he's made has been completely true. He failed the test. He was on the Mitchell Report. I mean, how do you go from his career was over? It was over 2 years ago. How do you go from where he was then to hitting the way he is now? I mean, you don't get older and bigger, faster, stronger, and better. I mean, from a Red Sox fan, you know your stuff. I just want to, what's your thoughts on it?
Is it shady? Yes, but he hasn't been tested positive for anything, and that's why I can't say he deserves any trouble because nothing has come out. In the past 2 years, has been when steroids and the whole issue has been testing has been at its forefront, and nothing has come out about David Ortiz in the recent time. Back in 2003, that's when the controversy was. That's fine. Nothing has come out about his name in the past 3 years that has linked him to anything.
I'll give you that.
Now, will I be entirely shocked if it happens? No, I'm gonna be honest with you, but I don't think he deserves the controversy now because there's literally been zero to connect him to absolutely anything connected to A-Rod, the Biogenesis Report, anything like that.
I'll give you that. I mean, you never saw his name brought up with the Biogenesis Clinic, anything like that, so I'll give you that. But I want to go back to Ryan Braun for a second. Giving credit to A-Rod, he did go on Francesa's show, answer the questions, even though he might be lying. At least he went out there and talked. Going back to Ryan Braun, we've heard nothing from him since this whole thing started. I want Ryan Braun in front. I want him to answer questions. It's ridiculous that he's hid this long and we haven't had to heard anything from him. I think it's ridiculous, and he better come up and talk.
I mean, I don't think he's going to. If he hasn't come out now, I don't think he's going to. And I think the reason A-Rod went out and talked to Mike Francesa is because Francesa's been on A-Rod's side since the start of this, and I think he knew he had an ally going in. I think that definitely gives him some extra courage, going on the air and speaking like that. And also, A-Rod, I think, is a better actor than Ryan Braun.
Definitely.
I think A-Rod's perfected putting on the face that everyone knows, and he could spit out words with lying without even second thought.
Although Ryan Braun wasn't bad, I truly believe from my heart that this substance never entered my body.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, it just, the steroid thing in baseball, it's just, I mean, I could tell you're a big baseball fan. I'm a big baseball fan. The steroid thing in general has just ruined so much of the enjoyment of the game for me. I mean, baseball's always been a sport built on numbers, and you just can't trust the numbers anymore. And it's sad because you look at the home run list, all those things, they just don't mean as much as they used to, and it's really sad. It really is.
I mean, one of the biggest controversies I have is when these players are suspended. they can come back for the playoffs. And you saw Johnny Peralta do that for the Tigers this year. Now, 2 years ago, the San Francisco Giants did not allow Melky Cabrera to come back from the suspension, which I liked as well. Do you think, I think going forward, you should not allow people suspended to come back for the playoffs, because you play all season to get to the playoffs. You shouldn't reward them by playing in the most meaningful games. Do you agree?
I mean, it's like what's the consequences for doing something wrong? It's the same thing with Cabrera. You know, you saw he got in trouble. The Giants did the right thing, but then in the offseason, he signs a big deal with Toronto. So what was the consequences? He had big numbers, got caught, and then he got a big payday. I mean, it just, there's no consequences for this right now. And I mean, there's been some talk, what's the MLB going to do to stop this? Maybe a one-and-done policy a lot of people think wouldn't work, because you can't take away somebody's livelihood.
Yeah.
But I think a second strike policy is definitely worth it, because I think it really might be the only way we can cut down on it, because if people are afraid that they're not going to have their job anymore, they're not going to take the risks that they once were.
I think the problem with that, though, is that if you see a big name player, that someone that no one would expect getting that, like, that X on their record, I think it'll affect baseball permanently. Just in a hypothetical situation, imagine someone like a Derek Jeter got a steroid thing connected to him, and he is the face of baseball, he's the face of the Yankees, and you had like that one and done, or that like one super long suspension, and then he's out of baseball. Imagine what that one strike would do to all of baseball if someone that prominent got caught.
And that's what, go back to my Pujols point. I mean, it's what makes you think about guys like those. Like, if the MLB were so worried about a guy like that getting in trouble, it would be so damaging to the sport. I don't know. I think that's a good point, and it's definitely, I mean, the problem is we're never going to come up with a permanent solution to this right now. I think it's just, it's so infused in baseball's culture right now. I mean, I hope it gets better, but I just don't see a light really right now.
I mean, hopefully a light comes out of the tunnel at some point in time.
You gotta hope so, yeah.
Maybe with Bud Selig retiring, some new lineage in the baseball front office might bring us some hope.
I mean, I think anything of any sort form of a change, you can't get much worse than what's been going on. So hopefully baseball will pick up his feet somewhere or another. But you're listening to the WICR Radiothon. We'll take a short commercial break, get back to the MLB free agents that are still on the market, and get back to the big blockbuster trade between the Texas Rangers and the Detroit Tigers, shaking up the American League. We'll be back here with more on WICR live on 365.com.
Hey, it's Ken Dashow from Q104.3, and New Rochelle is rocking to WICR.